were approached by the US to accept third-party nationals who were being removed from the US. And we agreed with them that West African nationals, were acceptable, because all our fellow West Africans don't need a visa to come to our country. So if they decided to travel from US to Accra, they don't need a visa anyway. So if you're bringing our colleague West Africans back, that's okay. And so I think that agreement has been activated, and a first batch of 14 nationals came. Several of them were our Nigerian brothers. They opted to go back home, and so we put them on buses, to be able to go back home. One of them was a Gambian who is not as easy. You have to get him an air ticket to be able to facilitate his travel. So what we've done is contacted their embassy to let them know of his presence so that they can facilitate his return to Gambia. And so that's the issue with regards to deportations and arrivals. West Africa has the protocol of free movement, and so any West African is free to come to Ghana and be able to stay for 90 days. And so if they decide to bring them, we don't have a problem.
Imagine this: you board a plane, but not by choice. Your wrist was chained, your ankle was also locked, and even a belt tied around your waist. Guard standing over you like you are dangerous. For more than 16 good hours, you can't move, you can't walk, you can't even stretch your leg, you can't even breathe freely. And then, after all that suffering, the plane lands. You look out the window, praying it's home. But when the doors open, it's not Nigeria, not Gambia, not even your country. They've dumped you in Ghana. A land some of you have never set foot in your entire life. This is not a movie, my family. This is happening right now in our Korokoro nose like this. And the outrage is spreading like wildfire. Welcome to African Black Gold TV, where we bring you the real gist, the story they try to hide, the pain they want to bury, and the resilience of Africans everywhere. Today, we're talking about the United States deporting West Africans, that is Nigerians, Gambians, others, and even dumping them in Ghana under a controversial deal, shackled, humiliated, and treated like package to be shipped out of Africa. But here's the twist. Lawyers, judges, activists, even some government officials are now fighting basketballs over whether this was legal, over whether this was a moral thing, or even, is it human? Report says it began quietly. Groups of migrants, many with pending asylum cases in the US, were rounded up just like that. They were strapped into restraint, wrist, ankle, even straitjacket for some, bread and water given to them on 16 hours flight. No destination announced, no comfort at all, even no dignity, just silence and fear. The shocking part of it is that the plane now landed in Ghana. For some, that was not home. Imagine being Nigerian, but landed in Ghana. Imagine being Gambia, but finding yourself at the Ghana's Kotoka airport. My family, please, just think about this. You left everything behind chasing safety. You drop just like that, bugdum, like baggage in a strange land. So why Ghana? Why not send a Nigerian back to Nigeria? Or a Gambian man back to Gambia? Here's the thing. The US has what they call third country agreement, meaning they can deport migrants to a country that isn't their own, as long as that country agree to take them. And which Ghana, they volunteer to do that to West Africans whom were being deported by Americans.
These individuals were being held in detention, which was both psychologically and physically distressing. They were also faced with the risk of being deported to countries that are not safe and do not have the stability and human rights credentials Ghana is famed for. You need to note that President Trump has secured a positive verdict from the US Supreme Court that he could go ahead and remove these nationals and dump them anywhere.
You've seen it. Ghana's government proudly announced we accepted them, we processed them, and sent them back home, especially Nigerians. 13 of Nigerians were put in a bus out of Ghana, and just one Gambian was flown back home. But the official explanation that Ghana gives that makes them to welcome those people was that West African doesn't need visa at all. That it's easier for us to receive them all the way from America. That was what they said. That was the explanation. But family, since when did easier now becomes right? Since when did convenience now override human dignity? Please tell me in the comments there. Now, here's where it gets messy. Ghana says all deportees have been returned to their countries, that no one is being held behind, that everything is fine and, was arranged accordingly. But lawyers and human rights groups on the ground are shouting a different story. They say some deportees are still locked up in military-style camp. Conditions are harsh there. They put them in tent, rain soaking through, no real sanitation, no proper food given to them. So, who is lying? Ghana says all is well and all is free. But lawyer says some still trapped in Ghana, and the court in the middle are ordinary Africans stripped of their right, stripped of their dignity, with no one to speak for them. In America, the fight has reached the court. Judge Tanya Chukan, a federal judge, said what the US did looks like an end run around legal protection. It simply means in English terms, right, that they are trying to dodge the law. That was what the judge said to American government. Because she said some of those deportees had already been given protection against deportation, because returning them back home could expose them to torture, could expose them to death. Yet they were deported anyway back to Africa. International law has a rule called non-refoulement. It means don't send someone to a place where they will be harmed. Did the US break that? Many say yes. And this is bigger than just legal paperwork. It's about life and death. Now, let's turn to our government. Where is Nigeria in all this? Nigerians were on that flight. Nigerians were shackled, chained, and dumped in Ghana. Yet, Nigerian government has barely spoken. Does it mean that Nigerian government is scared of the United States? Ghana says Nigerians were bossed home. Nigeria says they weren't properly informed. Some officials are silent. Some deny knowing. But the question is, how can anyone, just deport someone to their country without the full consent of that country? Are we going to say, Nigeria, are they sleeping? Or, are they too weak to challenge the US authority? And Ghana, why? Why agree to this? The president says no money was given, no special reward, just that we are helping our fellow Africans.
Ghana-US relations. First, we were slapped with 10% tariff that was increased to 15%. And then we're included in 36 countries that were going to be placed on a visa ban. But in the meantime, all 5-year visas were cancelled, and we were restricted to single entry 3 months. It shows the tightening situation in our foreign relations, but I do think that we still enjoy good relations with the United States of America.
But critics are asking a bigger question. Is there really no benefit here? Could this be about diplomatic favor, about gaining US goodwill, about appearing like the good partner in Africa to the US? And at what cost? At the cost of human dignity? At the cost of international law? Let's pause from politics and think of the human side. That Nigerian mother, she fled violence, begging for safety instead. She shackled and dropped in Ghana. Her children crying, mama, mama, mama. That Gambian boy, he left because of political persecution. Instead of hope, he got chained, both leg and arm, and dumped also in Ghana. My family. These are not statistics. These are lives. People's with dream. People like you and me are in this situation. This isn't just one flight. This isn't the bigger picture of how the diaspora is treated from Africa to Europe to Asia. Africans are facing discrimination, unfair deportation, and silence from their own leader. If the US can shackle 14 people today, they can shackle 40 tomorrow. If Ghana can accept it today, What stopped them from accepting thousands next year? It starts from somewhere. Gradually, they will be increasing it. But Ghanaians or Ghana government, they don't know what they're dealing with. Because at the end of the day, some of these people, they will not leave Ghana again, and they will now become nuisance in Ghana. And you will now say the Ghanaians, they will now say Nigeria must go, this one must go. Whereby the authority of Ghana, they're taking them in. Family, I beg Jare, injustice doesn't shrink when we ignore it, right? It grows. So we need to speak out, we need to talk about it. So what do we do now? We don't just stay quiet. We don't let this story die like that. We need to speak and we need to share this story. And we need to demand accountability from the US, from Ghana, also from Nigerian government that keeps quiet. And if you or someone you know has faced wrongful deportation before, please tell your story and drop it in the comment or reach out privately through the description because your voice matters. This is African Black Gold TV, where we don't just read headline, we connect the dots, we ask the hard questions, and we demand justice for our people. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to African Black Gold TV because when one of us is in chain, none of us are free.